Mrs. Nolan, are you sure? The baby is already 4 months old. Do you really not want it anymore? No, I answered determinedly. I could still hear that wretched woman's voice and another familiar male voice comforting her over and over again on the other end of the phone. I hung up and closed my eyes calmly. The surgery was a long one. When I finally opened my eyes again, I saw that the fetus taken out of me was now laid out on a metal tray. Its form had already taken shape. I hurriedly closed my eyes again. However, I could feel the tingle in my nose, reminding me that I couldn't deny that this was now my reality. I had killed my own child because of a man who hadn't been worth any of my time or effort. My phone vibrated next to me. It was a text message from Archer Nolan. Are you done sulking? You're already so old. Yet you keep acting like a spoiled child. Don't keep thinking that the world revolves around you. You'd better know your place and stay there, Celine. It was just a few sentences, and yet since they came from Archer, I knew exactly where I now stood in his heart. Jacqueline Willow was quite pretty. Most importantly, she was still very young. She graduated from an Ivy Standard college and came from a wealthy family background. Meanwhile, my age was starting to catch up to me. Although I'd done everything I could to help Archer succeed with his company, he still never had a good word for me and often made fun of me. I blocked all their contact numbers on my phone. Maybe this way, he'd stop saying that I thought too much about myself. Whether I died or survived would have nothing to do with them anymore. I sent the tiny fetus, remains to be cremated. This was probably the first time the crematorium had ever received such a request. They looked at me with curious, suspicious eyes. The raging fire reflected on my face. The flames never came close to me, but somehow, I felt a stabbing pain on my face. The pain extended all the way down to my heart. When the ashes were finally taken out and put into an urn, the last shaky walls in my heart finally collapsed. Tears flowed down my face continuously. I realized that I finally had absolutely nothing left. I used to have a husband who loved me. I used to have a baby in my stomach whom I loved. But now, even the future I looked forward to together had gone up in flames. On the way home from the hospital, I saw a massive billboard advertisement for Nolan Group. The two people modeling the jewelry looked absolutely perfect together. They looked like they were made for each other. Hanging from Jacqueline's neck was an eye-piercing blue necklace made from blue sapphires. From my many years of experience of being a jewelry designer, I suspected that it was a set with the ring I'd received from Archer before. I took out the ring carefully and looked at it before letting out a self-mocking laugh. Compared to the intricate and complicated design of the sapphire necklace Jacqueline was wearing around her neck, my ring looked extremely plain and inexpensive. In fact, it felt more like a freebie that came with purchasing the necklace. I threw the ring into the trash, just like how I threw my years of love and sincerity for Archer away. I don't owe you anything anymore, Archer. The next morning, I was rudely awakened by the incessant loud ringing of my phone. I sleepily opened my eyes and answered the call. At once, Archer's loud roars could be heard through the phone. Celine, what's your problem? The wedding is going to start. Are you trying to humiliate me in front of the rest of my family? It had already come to this. And yet, Archer was still only thinking about his image and reputation. Nolan Group had invited press and media to attend the so-called wedding that was held just for the sake of it. So what did that have to do with me anyway? I remember telling you yesterday that I wanted to call the wedding off. What's the point of throwing such a big fuss? Archer demanded, still not letting it go. If you're unhappy about the wedding gift, then just tell me about it. There's no point in you threatening me in such a useless and roundabout way. If you really don't want to marry me, there are plenty more women in the world who can't wait to get with me. Don't think that you're so important that I can't have anyone else other than you. You have exactly 1 hour to get to the wedding venue. If you don't arrive in time, don't you ever dare show your face before me ever again. Archer then hung up after the threat, without giving me a chance to explain myself, or even get a word in. I stared at my phone in shock. Then, I recalled him when he was younger. He had held my hand under the bright sun, and told me in a gentle voice, Celine, you'll be the only woman I ever want to marry in my life. There's no one else but you. It can only be you. I was then immediately brought back to the present. Now, Archer only kept reminding me that I wasn't anyone important in his life. I figured that I should perhaps make it clearer to him that it was over between us. I put on some dazzling makeup and managed to make it in time to the hotel where our wedding was being held. As soon as I alighted from the car, numerous paparazzi rushed toward me and started asking me questions. "Mrs. Nolan, it's your big day with Mr. Nolan today. How do you feel about it? I heard that you both knew each other since you were kids. Is it true that Mr. Nolan has been treating you as lovingly as he did back then?" I had no interest in answering any of the loaded questions these people threw at me, because I heard someone next to Archer say, "I knew you had a chokehold around your wife. She still came crawling back to you after a simple phone call." Meanwhile, Archer answered, "Women are easy to handle. As long as you don't spoil her too much, she'll know when to get back in place." However, when his eyes landed on me, he immediately resumed looking at me coldly and disinterestedly. "So, you still know how to return to me? Don't think that you can walk over my head just because you got pregnant. Let me tell you, Celine, you're practically nothing without me." I just stared up at him in silence. "What are you doing, still standing there like an idiot? Waiting for the others to make a joke out of you?" Archer gave me an impatient look and shoved me along. I was caught off balance. With that, under everyone's eyes, I fell heavily to the ground. My ankle started throbbing painfully. I immediately let out a hiss and moaned in pain. However, Archer just glared at me and yelled, "Stop pretending and get back up. You're humiliating me." I just gave him a wan smile and climbed back onto my feet by myself. However, before I'd even managed to dust my dress off, another person accidentally shoved me back onto the ground. It was Jacqueline. She had been carrying an armful of gift boxes when she fell to the ground with me. "Mrs. Nolan. Oh, I didn't mean to do it on purpose. Are you okay?" Jacqueline gave me a pitiful look as she pretended to look concerned about me. Meanwhile, Archer just started yelling loudly at me again. "Celine, are you out of your mind? Are you done with your stupid acting yet? Can't you see that Jacqueline is carrying a whole bunch of things?" Then he immediately crouched down and checked Jacqueline's body for any injuries. He asked her gently, "Are you okay? Are the staff crazy? How could they make you carry so many things on your own?" Jacqueline just answered pitifully, "I'm fine. It's just that Mrs. Nolan arrived a little too late today, and we didn't anticipate it. That's why we hadn't prepared for it. I know Mrs. Nolan dislikes me, which is why I want to do well today and make sure she doesn't hate me so much." My ankle was already painful enough without taking a second fall. I was in great pain now, and yet I was still forced to watch them being lovey-dovey with each other. I couldn't stand it any longer. "Archer, the press and media are still here. Are you that impatient to introduce them to Jacqueline already?" I asked mercilessly, making him lose his cool. "Celine, it's because of how filthy you are that you think everyone is as filthy as you. If it weren't for your pregnancy, I would have made you suffer 100 times the pain Jacqueline is going through now." With that, he picked Jacqueline up from the ground and rushed her elsewhere for first aid treatment, leaving me and the other paparazzi behind. Perfect. I didn't even have to make any official announcements. I was sure that news of our broken marriage would surely make it to top news the next day. I carefully got back on my feet and cast a less pitiful smile at the cameras. "Sorry about that. I'd already suffered years of Archer's mocking insults anyway. One more time wouldn't make much of a difference. After all, didn't Archer think that I'd never be able to leave him because I was carrying his baby? I was going to tell him once and for all that once I'd made my decision to give up on him, there would never be a second chance for him, ever. I'd never look back." It wasn't until everything else was in place that Archer finally showed up. Everyone just stared at him in silence. However, he never realized that people were staring at him weirdly. "Why are you staring? Start the ceremony." So, he hadn't even bothered preparing a ring after all. The officiator had no choice but to start the ceremony without the rings. He asked, "Mr. Archer Nolan, do you, in sickness and in health, take Miss Celine Larcel to be your lawfully wedded wife? Do you promise to love her, cherish her, never betray her, and place her first in whatever you do for the rest of your life?" I saw a hint of disgust flash in his eyes. However, he still responded, "I do." The officiator then turned to me. "Miss Celine Larcel, do you, in sickness and in health, Take Mr. Archer Nolan to be your lawfully wedded husband. He went through with the rest of the question, and all eyes were on me, including the cameras, waiting for me to respond. To the officiator I simply said, "I don't." There was a chorus of gasps, and all the reporters and paparazzi immediately zoomed closer for their next scoop. Archer widened his eyes in shock. It was the first time I'd seen him staring at me in disbelief. However, I could still see the hatred and ridicule in his eyes. Just as he was about to speak, no doubt to humiliate me further in some sort of way, I interrupted him. "I've aborted the baby. It's also impossible for us to ever get back together. Since everyone is here today along with the media, I would like you all to be my witness. I, Celine Larcel, will no longer have anything to do with Archer Nolan. We are through."